What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, February 27th, 2019. I hope you're doing well. Bitcoin's bottom. Everybody trying to predict it, to guess it, to be ready for it, which is all good. I'm not necessarily trying to predict it, but definitely tracking it. And I have a couple different data points that I want to talk about in this video. I'll make it brief. So let's jump right into the video and talk about this. Two things: the 250 EMAs, right? So this 50 EMA blue line, this pink line, 200 EMA, and we're talking about these things on the 4-hour charts. I wanted to dig into the 4-hour charts. They really paint a nice picture of Bitcoin and Bitcoin's momentum. So that's number one. Number two, the RSI, that momentum oscillator that is so key, whether on the weekly charts, the daily charts, and yes, even the 4-hour chart. So I want to talk about that in this video. So first off, in terms of these moving averages, the 200 and the 50, just to give you a picture, I want to kind of zoom out on the charts. This is the 4-hour. I want to go back to Bitcoin's uptrend, right, in this long-term bull markets. And I just want to point out, you can see this 50 EMA kind of overpowering and seeing support above the pink line, the 200 EMA. See this uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. Obviously, some key, much needed consolidation phases, right? And then the 50 EMA dips below it, but again, overpowers the 200 EMA once again and continues an uptrend. So want to paint that picture. That's a bullish market on the 4-hour chart. That's what it looks like. 50 EMA overpowering the 200 EMA. On the flip side, a bearish market, you see failure of the 50 EMA to overpower the 200 EMA. Consistent failure, consistent rejection, and we've seen it all of 2018, and right now in the early 2019, we're starting to see Bitcoin consolidate and the 50 EMA, this blue line, start testing a little bit more the 200 EMA. And I liken it to back in 2015, we saw something similar. Continued rejection in that bear market of the 50 EMA, and we all know that final capitulation that Bitcoin had. And then that was January 2015. And then what happened was you see this 50 EMA blue line starting to really test and consolidate in a really pretty even channel on Bitcoin. So it really paints, and looking back at this data, it paints a really nice picture of what that bear market bottom looked like, right? And we're talking, it was a good amount of time, but you see the shift, the bears to the bulls, and it's really illustrated nicely with this 50 EMA and the 200 EMA, and how it flips, right? How the 200 EMA dominating Bitcoin all year long, and then all of a sudden we see Bitcoin, the 50 EMA, begins dominating and seeing support right here above the 200 EMA. It's something that we should be looking at and anticipating and watching. Well, are we going to get a similar confirmation in terms of that transfer of volume from bears to bulls? So that's one thing I'm looking at, and you can see it right now. It's so far the bottom or the perceived bottom is very similar to back in that last bear market. You can see it on the screen, and even most recently we had that 50 EMA cross above the 200 EMA. So the question is, are we going to see continued support above the 200 EMA, right, for the 50 EMA? So maybe a bounce and continued uptrend. That could be a really good sign of this transfer in the markets that we're looking for. Secondly, I just want to point out real quick, nothing crazy, the RSI. Now, you can go back and you look at historically on either the daily, the weekly, or even the 4-hour, the oversold areas of Bitcoin. If you look back and you're just like, man, if I would have bought that oversold area, most often these areas of failure, not every time, but often these areas of fear in the markets, like right here, right? Back in April 2015, Bitcoin down a ton, right? From this swing high, down 20%, right? Swing low. And if you would have bought in those scenarios, most often you would see some really nice bounces and gains, followed by revisits to that same exact area that you bought at. Now, my point is, if you look at the zoomed out chart on the 4-hour chart, and you do it in synergy with these 50 EMA moves and the 200 EMAs, you really get some good indicators lining up in terms of indicating and showing when would good areas be to accumulate Bitcoin, right? So even on the 4 hour, this happens on the RSI. So here's a really oversold area below the 15 line on the RSI, and we have some other previous swing lows at the 15, like this first area of capitulation touching the 15 line, um, really proving to be markers of that bottom, really the lows of that bear market. So similarly, we can go to today's chart and we can kind of gather the same type of data. We can zoom out on the 4 hour and we can really look at, well, where's that 15 line on the RSI? It's down here, right? Here's the 15 line, and we can go back and we can kind of see where are these areas of really downside momentum. And we have to start gathering this data to start building a picture, right? So what we want to see is when we hit that 15 line down here, what is that downside looking like in context to that last bear market? So I think that's something that we can really utilize in today's market. So for me, what I'm looking for is another revisit into an oversold area, and I want to see if there's divergence from that last bear market. Meaning, if we hit this oversold, in the 15 area on Bitcoin, what is happening with the actual charts and even the 50 and the 200 EMA? How similar is the story today to that last bear market? These are two things that I use in synergy with each other. And there's so many other indicators we watch at the same time, but I think it's definitely worth noting to watch the momentum of Bitcoin and how it moves to see if there's strength in the momentum out of this bear market, very similar to strength that we saw out of that last bear market bouncing off of this 15 line. So could be a really nice indicator of potential area of lows for Bitcoin, but we have to continue gathering the data. That's not to say every time we hit oversold, that's the bottom, because it's certainly not the case. So wanted to throw those 2 points out there in context to the bottom, since everybody's talking about it, everybody's watching it. And actually, as I do this video, we're actually seeing downside right now. And it'll be interesting to watch this. And man, I almost want to see if this continues. But right now we have this very short-term live support. We have this wick on the 4 hour below the 200 EMA. Are we going to see support in this area? I have no idea. This is a recorded video, but keep an eye on it. This is what happens. If something crazy happens, I'll try and come on a little bit later tomorrow. But let's see if we get a bounce here off of that 200 EMA support on the 4 hour. Let me know how you're doing out there. Let me know if you're anticipating continued downside. The market's moving a little bit right now. Appreciate you coming by. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I would love to have you as part of the video. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, and God bless.